Welcome to SPK Speak Sports. On our station, we talk about baseball and sports news, from the most recent stories to the throwbacks. Listen now to Scott, Paul, and Kelly on SPK Speak Sports as they hit the ball out of the park.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.
Hello and hi, I'm Scott.
I'm Paul.
I'm Kelly.
And we're SPK Speak Sports. Nice to have you with us today. Before I throw this over to Kelly, who's going to lead it off, I just got a couple of quotes to interject throughout the program. Number one, I never threw an illegal pitch. Trouble is, once in a while I toss one that ain't never been seen by this generation. Any idea who that might have been?
Dizzy Dean.
No, but another character, Satchel Paige.
Oh, okay.
This one from Dave Barry, the writer, Dave Barry.
Probably.
Not really a baseball
Humorist.
player. Yeah. If a woman has to choose between catching a fly ball and saving an infant's life, she will choose to save the infant's life without even considering if there is a man on base. And the last one from Whitey Ford, the way to make coaches think you're in shape in the spring is to get a tan. So
There you
always
go.
trying to get out of running those laps.
That's right.
So Kelly, what you got on the dais number one?
Well, it's baseball season's over, but then again, the winter, all the things that really happen and have an effect on what's going to happen in the next season is going on now.
Yeah.
So with the Mets, we got a new owner,
Who's
Mr.
we?
Cohen. Well, Major League Baseball, okay. And I think what you're going to see is that the Mets they're gonna elevate into one of the top teams in the American League.
Because Steve Cohen isn't going to pay $2.5 billion with
Right.
$1 billion.
Right.
National East.
National League East, and he's putting Alderson as his president. They're looking for a GM. There's a lot of free agents. And I think these free agents are not going to get the money they think they're going to get because they don't know what the revenue is. I don't think they're going to get the long-term contracts. There's a lot of them out on the market, which depresses their
There's
value.
a lot of guys that are 31 or 32. And the most I would think you'd give somebody like that is 4 years, max.
What's a GM for the Mets get paid?
Well, I think he's going to get paid a little more than Perry
Manassian.
Manassian of the Angels. And now that's another story. And I just want to, because I'm an Angel fan, Scott's an Angel fan, we've been suffering. I'm able in August to start looking at college football. And I have Notre Dame as someone I could segue into. I don't know what you segue into. After the Angel season's over in June.
I just lament.
And
for
you just
several-
laugh.
I'm
because-
like the Raja. I just sit at the
You sit
window
there
waiting
and-
for spring.
Yeah, because this guy has the best. He roots for the best team in baseball with the best organization. Okay, but we got Artie Moreno as an owner, and he's done it again. Now they say that if you keep doing things over again, you're insane,
And
right?
expect different results, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing.
Cray.
Right. Fourth general manager. All these managers had little or no experience. DePoto had a little, and he's doing the same thing. And he talks about wins. They had this big thing with Manassian the other day, this press conference. Artie was nowhere to be seen. He's somewhere in Arizona. And he's talking about it's all about wins, and that's the main thing, wins, which they don't get.
We've heard this before.
Right.
However,
But let me-
Manassian is a former bat boy.
that's where
Look where I am. Look where he is.
They
Yes.
could have had you.
And that's why I think Manassian is he might be a really good. He has good roots. He's comes from a family, and no matter who you hire,
Kelly,
you know.
guys, I got it.
Okay.
SPK. All three of us, they get 3 for the price of 1. We can be the general manager, the brain trust for the Angels.
3 heads are better
Well,
than one, you know.
Yeah, no,
But hey, Kelly,
I'm not
just
demanding a lot.
little. Yeah, that's a thought though, and also I'm glad that one of us shaved here today, but that's beside the
Okay.
point. But just hold out hope that maybe he's the second coming of Bill Stoneman. Bill Stoneman didn't have a great track record. I don't think he was a first-time GM.
Well, he was with Montreal.
With the Montreal, and he threw 2 no-hitters at one time.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with anything either.
But anybody that succeeds and raises to a level of great success has to have a start, and they have a beginning. So you don't know where that's going to go. And I'm pulling for him. I hope that Artie's 0 for 3, but maybe he's going to hit 250 with this guy and get a hit with him, and we're on our way to maybe a wild card.
Keep a positive thought.
That's
okay,
right.
we about ready to wrap up, or are we
Yeah.
okay? Oh,
It's
Paul, maybe you have something to interject before we do wrap?
Speaking of the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
the new ballot's out, right?
It appears to be.
So there are.
Let's talk about it.
There are about 13 first-time eligibles. Do you see anybody on the list
No.
who deserves
No.
first-time consideration?
You know, the top 2 guys are Tim Hudson with 222 wins and Mark Burley with 214. And there's nobody pitching or hitting wise other than Nick Switzer.
Oh,
Swisher, yeah.
the catcher?
No.
Oh, third base?
Oh, shoot, now I forgot his name. We're taping, and
Well,
I forgot
Burley-
his, Nick Swisher.
Yeah.
He was on the MLB network the other, on one of the morning show. He's always been a very ebullient, word of the day, ebullient. I don't know how to spell it, but I know what it means. I mean, he's on, and he's just pumped that he's just on the ballot. He says, I know I have 0 chance to get in. He has 0 chance to get in, but he's just happy to be on the ballot. And then Ron Darling chips him with, people have asked him if he's in the Hall of Fame. And he goes, yeah, Hall of Fame ballot. So how many guys get on the ballot?
Yeah.
And Nick Swisher is just psyched beyond belief. So
Scott, you're full of ebullient. Burley, you mentioned him. I went back and I took a look at the 9th inning of his perfect game in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
And there was, in the first out in that 9th inning, should have been a home run. But Dwayne Wise robbed, I can't remember who hit it. But that's one of the greatest catches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
in that situation,
Oh, my gosh.
especially.
Yeah.
You saved it.
Yeah, you save a perfect game.
That was a tremendous
You know,
catch.
that's where baseball has something special that a lot of the other sports don't have, because that play in the first inning is remembered for even into the last out. Whereas, say in basketball, they're running, there's no
Gets
distinct,
lost.
yeah. And so that's the special thing about baseball,
And that player, baseball people, aren't you the guy that saved,
Right. Yeah, he's known
and
for that.
he'll be like this. He'll be ebullient and go, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But the only other person down the line that might get in would be Torrey Hunter.
Yeah.
Now, there's a well-liked player, not
Yeah.
that should be first and foremost.
No, he's
but,
solid.
But he hit 355 home runs, about 1,400 RBIs, hit, 280, something like that. But he had 9 Gold Glove awards.
Yeah, he
so combine offense with the defensive ability there, he could get in eventually.
Right.
Maybe not till the Veterans Committee,
Yeah,
but
but
I don't think there's anybody else. On the other side of the coin for the Hall of Fame ballots, the people that have been on for a while, Kurt Schilling tops the list with 70% of the votes last year.
Right.
Now he's got one more year after this to get in before he
make
would
it.
go to the Veterans. And he's been held down because of his political views.
Right.
And again, it has nothing to do with his on-the-field exploits, because that guy was 216 wins, which isn't big time, but I don't think we're looking at having to have 300 wins anymore. But his postseason record
Terrific.
was phenomenal.
And I've seen him pitch,
And nobody will ever forget the blood on the sock.
yeah.
Never. And then the conspiracies, some people
Yeah.
said, it was catch-up.
Well, that's
okay.
that's to diminish what he did.
But if you're talking about on-field performance, Kurt Schilling, as much as I admire the guy, loved his career, I think Andy Pettitte edges him out on the field. And I think his ERA was a little bit higher, but he won a lot more games. He was over 103 games above 500.
Yep.
Of course, he was playing for the Yankees all those years.
Well, you can't penalize him for having 256 wins. Wasn't he almost always with the Yankees? Maybe there were
3
a
years
couple
with Houston.
Houston,
Yeah.
that's right. And I think they were pretty good at that time too.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like a 3.8 ERA, which is high, but you can't penalize. And he's won 19 games in the postseason. Again, he was with all those Yankee teams,
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't penalize the guy for that. but he's in his third year. He's only at 11%. Now you brought up something in
Well,
pre-production.
he had.
Yes, it's produced.
He had a problem with the steroid, and he pretty much testified and called out Clemens. And it was Clemens, they're good friends, and that was the term Clemens used with, he's misremembering. That's the first time I ever heard that, misremembering. And so there's, I think
Hearing a lot as a lawyer.
I think he got tarnished with that a little bit, and I think that's why they're keeping him out because,
Well, there are a lot of guys on this list who are eligible and have not been voted in that if you look at their stats, their careers, they're no-brainers.
Preach it, Rev.
Yeah, Barry Bonds,
Yep.
Roger Clemens,
Yep.
Manny Ramirez, Sammy Sosa. But yeah, there's a wound, there's a scar, there's a blemish on their careers, and it's it's the juice. Now, for most of these guys, it wasn't specifically prohibited at the time, and they weren't testing. So, do you keep them out? I mean, this is different from Pete Rose,
Right.
But do you keep these guys out of the Hall of Fame? I'm arguing that Barry Bonds, you could draw a line in his career from before roids and after roids.
Oh.
If he ended his career before he ever got on the stuff, he's still a Hall of Famer.
Well, when you like you just compared different players, what they accomplished, and then you look at it and say, okay, he deserves it, but this person doesn't deserve it based on their stats and things. Okay, all the steroid stuff was used, and the statistics were raised based on that. So if that's what what you're comparing and that's what gets you in are the stats and what you've done, then these guys have an advantage over all the players that have played and might have had better stats than these guys. Or they wouldn't have used it. And their stats have risen.
But their contemporaries were also using it.
Well,
Many
no,
of them,
no,
and
but-
they were still a step above.
The bottom line is it wasn't illegal at the time, and you can argue with McGuire and Sosa brought fans back big time after the strike back to baseball. And the powers that be, from the commissioner on down, they all knew what was going on. Nobody stopped it then because, hey, everybody's back to baseball.
I have no doubt about that. They wanted to do something where you have a wing in the Hall of Fame and said, this is the steroid wing. These guys have all been accused or they've all used steroids. Their stats are good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, but that has to be part of it too.
Well, I think it can be a note, but
it's just like Pete Rose.
Steroids do not improve your hand-eye coordination. They do not improve your launch angle. They do not improve probably your foot speed.
Well,
it'll help you recover from injuries a lot quicker, and you play in a lot more ball games every year than your counterparts. And it probably adds 10 feet to the home run.
And steroids doesn't make you less of a jerk, as witnessed by Barry Bonds. He's in the Jerk Hall of Fame, if nothing else.
I don't know what the science is, and as far as what it gives you, like it gives you recovery time, which is important. When you look at Clemens and you see all these pitchers, they go like this, and then they get to a certain age, and they kind of level off, and then they go down. This guy he started to, and then he hit the steroids, and he went way up. Yeah. So you have to look at that too. It does help them. Well, it does make a difference.
Let's move on in a second. The Schilling should get in. I mean, at 70%.
He'll get in next year.
I think he'll get in this year.
Last time.
He's got 2 years left. He's got one more year after this, but I think he'll get in. As far as Bonds and Clemens and Sosa, they've got 2 years left too. I think if they get in, because they're only at 61%, they're going to make them wait till the very last year and just say, wink, wink, nod, nod, but you're a great ball player. For the holdovers, there's Omar Vizquel. He's at 53%. He's only in his 4th year. I think he's got a shot.
Yeah.
He was a very good shortstop shortstop and
Great
hitter
defense.
too.
Great defense.
Billy
man.
Wagner had 422 saves. I mean, for his 10 or 12 years, he was probably the best. And Gary Sheffield. Now, there was always rumors about him with
Yeah.
steroids. There's a guy over 500 home runs, almost 1,700 RBIs,
Yeah.
2,600 hits. But Jeff Kent, I think, definitely. We went over this prior, but not filming here. Jeff Kent, 377 home runs. Joe Morgan had 268. Jeff Kent had 1,518 RBIs. Joe Morgan, 1,133. He hit 290. Joe Morgan hit 268. And also by comparison, Bill Mazeroski, 138 home runs, 853 RBIs, hit 260. Here's the interesting thing about Mazeroski that I just thought about when I was watching the other day. MLB replayed the last game of the 1960 World Series against the Pirates. And the Yankees are trailing by a run in the 9th inning. Man on first and third. Mantle's on first. I forgot who's on third. And the left-handed batter hits a shot, a one-hopper to Rocky Nelson, who's right on first because he's holding Mantle on. Because there's the tie-breaker run. One hopper, Mantle, initial reflex, takes a step towards second. Nelson touches the bag, but that takes the force off of Mantle.
Right.
And he does a swim move back to first base and barely gets in as the third base runner scores to tie the game. If he's out, that guy doesn't score. Bill Mazeroski doesn't come up in the bottom of the 9th inning to hit the home run that probably helped him get into the Hall of Fame.
You think?
Right.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt him.
I always remember Bill Mazeroski, the name. But I remember the name. I used to buy a magazine, and it was Bill Mazeroski's stats and stuff. Like, not his game stats, but publishing and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I remember, with Gene Alley.
All right, I want to get into us talking about maybe the savior of baseball, the guy who can maybe improve baseball. That would be Theo Epstein. I mean, you talk about a resume already. He's only 48 years old.
Yeah.
He became a GM with the Red Sox in 2002 at 28.
Yeah.
They win for the first time in 86 years in 04 and 07, goes to the Cubs. Seems like a pretty ethical guy. He says, hey, I think 10 years is about max to be with any team. And he leaves the Cubs now after 9 years, turns it over to the new guy, figures it's a good time for that. But so he's talking about taking a year off. And it's just some, looking at some stuff, maybe speculation that maybe in the future he could become the next commissioner of baseball.
Rah.
And
Yeah,
the only
I
thing
would-
is, Rob Manfred's until 2024. I don't think baseball can wait 5
Buy
years.
him out.
No.
So I would say buy him out. He's the guy that said, hey, the trophy, the World Series trophy's just a piece of metal, and did a very poor job, in my opinion, I think in our opinions, of the penalties to the Astros. If nothing else, I understand you were hindered by the players' agreement. You could only fine them $5 million, but at least take away the rings too.
Well, there's no leadership there.
But interesting, he took, so anyway, some interesting teams if he were to decide after a year to come back. I think the number one team would be the Indians, because there's another team. They haven't won since 48. And if not them, any of these four teams that have never won the World Series, the Padres, Rangers, Brewers, and Rays. So any of those teams. But he said, I take responsibility for how the game is evolving. Aesthetics and optimize individual, analytics, optimize individual and team performance. However, the negative effect on the aesthetic value of the game and the entertainment value, because 36% of the time it's a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. Those first two things aren't very exciting.
Preach it, brother. Preach
He
it.
said, you've got to find a way to put the ball into play more often, be able to show off the player's athleticism more often. So, a couple of things. What if they lower the mound again? A couple of inches. They did it once. Lower the mound and redo what's ever in the center of the baseball. I don't know if it's juiced up or not, but lower the mound. There's talk, well, maybe, they were experimenting in the minor leagues in the athletic league, I think it was, Atlantic League, with the mound being 47 feet away. I don't think you can do that.
I wouldn't
But
do
if
that.
you deaden the ball just a little bit, I'm not saying go back to the dead ball era of 1905, but don't make it as lively as now and lower the mound.
But lowering the mound helps the hitters.
Yeah, but there are too many strikeouts, is what Scott's saying.
Yeah.
Too many strikeouts, too many home
But
runs.
the combination
too
of
many
that
walks.
and the ball.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And also philosophy for guys about. I think it's pretty hard to tell guys after doing this for the last 15 years or more. Now, kind of forget a lot of this stuff because we need to put the ball back into play more. But if you kind of give them a philosophy, you guys have 2 shots to hit a home run. Strike 1 and strike 2. You get to strike 2, you got 1 shot to put the ball into play.
Right.
And
I think that's pretty good.
but I think,
but also you got to take away all the protection for the players, all that padding.
Yeah, that too. And I think a big plus, and I don't mean this to be controversial, but I'm just throwing it out there because it's the elephant in the room, is commit to the fans and the sport, everybody in general, that you're an entertainment business dealing in sports. You're going to stand for the national anthem. You're our employees. You're going to look like ball players, like the Yankees, not Mike Clevenger. I mean, if the Yankees can do it, the other 29 teams can't. You need to look like a ball player, not like somebody who's in the Alamo with Davy Crockett. And also, this is not a good time also to be cutting the minor league teams from 160 to 120. And what do you think the fans, the baseball fans in Ogden, Utah feel now when their team is now going to be in Spokane in our Northwest League up here?
Right. And yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't think they're going to have as many rounds in the draft from now on. I don't.
No.
I mean, you're not going to have all these.
They won't.
There's no place to send them.
Well, yeah, but you got to have people, it's not so much you're drafting these guys with knowing that they're not going to make the major leagues or they're going to make the major leagues. They've got to play catch with the guys, and they got to play ball with the guys that are going to make it. You know, you got to field teams.
Well, and also, if you have a dress code and the players don't like it, well, I'm sorry, would you like to make millions of dollars here, or would you just like to go work at Walmart? Nothing wrong with Walmart, but you're not going to make millions of dollars.
That's Steinbrenner.
So, again, commit to the fact that you're an entertainment enterprise. You are not a social justice enterprise. You can do that away from the field, whatever, but do charities. Commit to charities, which they do.
Yeah.
But we want to see entertainment. We want to get away from everything else and spend 2.5 or 3 hours watching a game.
Right.
Yeah.
They've taken a great product and turned it into something that fans are walking away from instead of desperately walking into. And it's kind of reminiscent of take your favorite food. Okay, the new nutrition engineers get a hold of it. They take out all the gluten, all the fat, all the everything that makes it your favorite food.
Right.
Now it's a lot healthier, more nutritious, but nobody wants to eat it.
Yeah.
That's where baseball is. You don't want to eat it. It may be producing a lot more benefits down the line for something.
Well, there's just a
numbers.
lot. There's things to do that can be done that will improve the game.
Well,
and
you
I think
got-
a Theo Epstein can do that.
Yeah, and
a
wanna-
Rob Manfred, I think, is just a very timid puppet.
The thing with baseball is you want to make that product the main reason you're going to the game.
Yeah.
You don't need to build up all the land and develop everything so there's shops and everything around the stadium and all that. That's fine, but it's got to be the game that people go see.
Positive experience.
Yeah.
Do you think the game that the Dodgers will be fielding next year would be a better game if they get Nolan Arenado at third base?
I don't.
Well, I would rather see him I would see him move Sager, right? Sager over to third, try to get Linder, because I don't think Colorado's going to trade him to the Dodgers.
To the same
I really
Well, they're
don't.
talking seriously, apparently.
Yeah, but
they
can't
want
see it.
too much, I think.
Excuse me for just a second. Carlton, it's going to be fair, okay? Don't worry about it. Fisk, Ted Williams, Teddy Ballgame, Mantle, and Maris, okay, just by way of introduction. Now, you got a couple things. I know we're getting a little short on time, but what else you got?
Well,
agents?
the thing about Arenado, I brought that up because what Colorado, I think, was asking for, according to rumors, was Corey Seager. Corey Seager is a fan favorite, deservedly so. He was Rookie of the Year. This year he is the MVP of the NLCS and the World Series.
Right.
And how can he not be a fan favorite? Guy looks the part. He's right out of Central Casting. So
He's a gamer.
Yeah, he is. And it drives me nuts when you get really attached to a player and then the team either loses him free agency or trades him away. There are a lot of big-time free agents on the table this year. Teams all over America are going to be losing some of their favorite players. And that's another thing that does a disservice to fans. I get it. Go for more money. That's fine. Teams need to compete, though, for their own people before just, saying, oh, that's too expensive. Because fans are then going to say, sorry, the tickets are too expensive.
He's going to be getting a lot of money, Sager.
In a couple years. If he could pitch, I'd want the Angels to sign him. But that's another
Yeah, they're
story.
looking at Hap from the Yankees, 38 year.
38 year. Sign him to 1 year.
Yeah,
Matt Harvey is still.
Who was the guy?
around.
What's his name? What was the guy's name they used? Stripling that Artie nixed with
Ross
Jock
Stripling.
Peterson. If he was in right field and Stripling was part of the rotation, they would have made the playoffs.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They would have.
Hey, Tim McCarver had a quote once. He said, Bob Gibson is the luckiest pitcher I ever saw. He always pitches when the other team doesn't score any runs.
Scott, you said something last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, about 3 weeks ago maybe. Tony La Russa signing as the new manager of the White Sox.
Yeah.
Oldest new sign manager, I guess.
First time
Connie
ever
Mack
Hall of
was
Famer.
First time ever Hall of Famer for managing, to become a manager again. He's 76 years old, so he's like 2 years younger than Joe Biden. So, I mean, how can he be too old? Maybe it is too old for baseball.
It's
just
the
not
thing.
for America.
Hey, this is the way it is. What does it say? The analytics say, "Oh, I'm going to take out the pitcher."
Yeah.
That's how they manage today.
Yeah.
You could be 80 years old.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine, ex-ball player, and he said he might be in for a rude awakening. But he's been around the game, but he's not been in the dugout for about 6 years. But here's the analogy. My friend said that Eddie Stanky, who hadn't been in the game, hadn't managed for like 20 years, Texas Rangers signed him to manage, and he comes out one day to take out the pitcher, and the pitcher goes, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I have no idea." He walked back to the dugout, and after that game, he resigned.
Yeah.
It had passed him by. So
Say goodnight, Gracie.
But
I think it's time.
hey, these guys don't have to go out and argue with the umpires anymore. They got put on the. It's different.
I think we're running out of time here. We can talk about free agents next time because none of them are probably going to be signed by then. I did want to, since we just got a few minutes, one ridiculous thing about the NFL Pro Bowl game that's going to be played virtually next year. They're teaming up with EA Sports and the Madden NFL 21 Xbox game. It's going to be a week-long series of matchups with celebrities, NFL legends, current players, and streamers. Yeah, we want to let the streamers in, which will lead up to the big event. And the players will be selected by other players, coaches, and fans. So you're going to see, I mean, it's like, well, that guy's good as a tight end, but he can't do this. So we got to go with the next guy. So I'm just thinking those week-long activities, maybe they can have an Xbox like BLM thing too for that group as well to just kind of even things out. Maybe not.
I'd like to finish with one item.
Yeah.
Anybody watching, if you have an idea who the best player of the decade 2011 to 2020 is, leave it in the comments on our YouTube channel. Put it on our Facebook page. And we'll give you a shout out next time.
Yeah, and we're thinking Mike Trout. I mean, that's the obvious one, but
maybe someone has something.
Researched it or anything like that. Okay. So, with that in mind, we are wrapping up because the whiteboard says to. Okay. So, hey, have yourself a good Thanksgiving. Make sure you got a mask on that turkey before you cut off its neck.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.